Nick, for you playing these two games against Kada on the inside, what kind of a process was that to see a legit 7-footer?
Yeah, it's definitely different than going against a guy similar to my size. You know, we practice against my height guys every day, but it's just a challenge that I'm willing to embrace, and so I see that as a challenge that I'm gonna go and attack that, see what I can do. So it's not something I shy away from. It's something that I'm readily looking for.
And I mean, was that the difference today? Because it looked like you guys did clean up the turnovers and second chance points for the most part, but then it's hard to stop a guy like that when he's not only scoring but feeding the ball to other guys too, right?
Yeah, definitely kudos to him. He was moving the ball a lot. As a whole, they're all cutting and moving a lot. So it's just kind of something that we got to make sure we're cutting down and we're not allowing to happen as much.
For you guys, this weekend out rebounded. I know height is probably not the biggest thing that you guys have on the team, but
Yeah.
for you as the starter, that's the guy in the middle, what can you guys do better just to try to make it more competitive?
We just gotta be more physical, honestly. Just because the guy's taller than us doesn't mean he can just push us around and get us under the basket. So as a whole team, we can all get like a guy like Kata away from the basket, a guy like Bean away from the basket, and then if they can't get to the basket, they're not getting the offensive rebound.
And then against Utah State, one of the best teams in the Mountain West, is it a good measuring point to say, okay, this is where we're at? Like, yes, you split with Nevada, but you're swept this weekend. Is it a good measuring point to see, okay, this is what we got to do to be one of the best teams in the Mountain West?
Yeah, definitely. We're not going away from these games like, oh well, they're one of the better teams, so I guess you just can't win. It's definitely not that. It's what can we do to beat this team? What are we missing to be at the same caliber as a team like Utah State? So it's definitely a good measuring point to see. As we split with Nevada, we know that we're there. Are we at Utah State yet? We're not. What can we do to get there?
Yeah, with you specifically, like, how do you think you'll apply some of these lessons when you do see another 6'10", 6'11" type body like that?
Yeah, just going with the mindset of just because I had like one good game against him and today wasn't really the best game doesn't mean like I'm settling for that. I still have a lot of areas to improve. I'm not going with the mindset of, well, he's 7 foot. I can't beat that. What do I need to do to get past that 7 footer? What can I do to move my feet, be quicker? What advantages do I have? So I'm really looking at what advantages worked and what didn't, and where can I leverage those in the future.
And I know we've already talked about foul trouble,
Yeah.
but how much does that get in your head? You know, I saw the frustration. There was a really close call down here on your side of the floor.
Mhm.
When you do get calls that go against you that you don't agree with, and you're already trying to fight that, does it just all snowball and make it worse?
Yeah, it can get frustrating, especially if it's like a touchy call or something like that. But um, at least in my experience, if I let it snowball like that, it tends to get worse. So just kind of like you might be mad in the moment, so let it go. It's happening. We got another half. We got plenty of time to play. So make the most of the minutes that I do get.
Is it it looked like you guys cleaned up some of the turnover issues and the second chance points weren't as severe, but Kada seemed to be
Yeah.
the difference maker. Is that how you
Well,
saw it?
yeah, they're obviously I think what we saw, as we talk about them, they're a very good team. They play extremely hard. They defend like you can't believe every possession. So, I mean, these two games, right now they're 4-0. They've won the league the last couple of years. Right now they're they play the way best teams in leagues play. I mean, they guard, they defend. Everything's important to them on both ends. That that's what we got to learn from that because that's the way we got to be. And as I say that, it goes to your 2 points. We got to keep cleaning up our turnovers because the fewer turnovers we have, the more we're executing, the better offensive possessions we have. Maybe that puts us in our little press that we were able to do when we started to play better in the second half, slows them down. All that stuff helps your defensive rebounding. You know what I mean? It's all part of what our recipe has to be. And, so they're very good. They played very well. Hopefully what we learned is we got to have the consistency where we play the way we played today. We're not happy with the result, but I know it when I see it. And if I see that level of competitiveness from our players and the level of, every possession, fighting them over and over again, well, then I know the ball will win the basket over time. I know we'll get comfortable taking care of the ball, and we'll improve but we can't have the Thursday to Saturdays, with 26 turnovers. And so we got to get that consistency, and I think that's what Utah State, they obviously showed it in these two games, but I got to believe that's why they've been the best team in this league, and maybe again, this year, because they have that kind of consistency in the way they play every game, every possession.
We talk about learning. How important is it going to be for Nick Jackson to take this is the first time he's played a 7-footer like Caden? How important is it going to be for him to apply these lessons? Because you can't replicate that, I wouldn't think.
Yep.
You have to see it in person. So now that he moves on from this, how will he be better?
And I think he has to learn that, and then he has to learn and have the wherewithal and develop the wherewithal to take advantage of what his advantage will be. His advantage isn't going to be his height against the guys in this league. His advantage has to be his feet. His advantage has to be his movement, how quick he moves, how he never gets tired, how he can be here, there, and now we're using him in that way. And now a guy like Cater's got to figure out, I got to chase that guy all over the place. So we got to, and then we do have things in our arsenal where if we can get him to move that way, man, we can flip it on him a little bit, but we're not there yet. But that's what he's got to learn, because no matter what, he if he starts to move that way all the time, I think he'll be better at fighting him down there on the defensive end too, because he'll be moving all over the place. So it's obviously part of the process of him growing, learning, getting stronger, getting a little more hardness to how he moves everywhere he goes. I know that's going to be a focus for us, and we got to get it from all those guys, who are going to play that spot, so that we can try to gain an advantage there instead of it just being an advantage for them.
Hey, Coach, I asked you this on Thursday. You can't teach height. So with that, what do you change defensively, offensively with crashing the glass? Again, out-rebounded again tonight, and then points in the paint. Look at this. The disparity between both is astronomical.
Yep.
Is there something you can do to change?
I think, again, for us, it sort of all goes together. If we're giving the ball away, if we're losing those opportunities there, is it 5 opportunities there? And our turnovers are unforced, in some, if they're forcing them, okay, but that's 5 opportunities there that might lead to some points in the paint in transition the other way. That may lead to us being not in good rebounding position, more points in the paint possibly. So it goes together. We're not going to be able to come up with one thing. What they showed, again, we have some defensive things we can do that we did a little in our shoot-around that these guys have showed we need something like that. Will that help a little bit in the area you're talking about? I think it will. But, again, it has to come at both ends. We got to become more efficient. We got to take care of the ball better. We got to get comfortable playing in this type of game against these kinds of teams. And the more we get comfortable, the more the ball will go in the basket, the more we might, like I said, set up our little press to slow them down. That puts us in better defensive position to do what you're talking about. So I don't know if it's one thing. I know it's got to be a collective thing where that's sort of like who we are. That's who we are. That's how we play. It's a group thing. And if we do that, then maybe that helps against a guy like Keita. But, he's a very good player because, some good big guys, it's all about them. You know what I mean? Me, I'm going to score. He's a very good passer too. And they know that, and they all move the ball. So he's a tough guy because he's getting it himself and he's getting it for other guys. And, he's good that way. So, again, that's why I said there's some things defensively that these guys showed us that we got to get to work on that for ourselves as we get ready for probably another team that I know they're good. They do share the ball. I don't know to the same level as these guys. But it's going to be the same challenge come Wednesday, Friday with Boise State. So we do have to get better, and that was something I stressed afterwards. We had 7 turnovers in the second half, a little bit better. Got to get to where every game we're cutting that thing down, because I think that'll help us in the other areas.
I asked Nick this question as well. Measuring stick-wise, this is a good measuring stick game, saying, hey, okay, we split with Nevada. We know we can beat a team like Nevada, but Utah State's one of the best in the conference. This is how far away we are to trying to be elite in the conference, if that makes sense.
I think what we got to do is take a look at ourselves and how we competed game 1 and game 2. You know, I feel would feel really good if we played the same way Thursday that we did today, because then that would have been like 80 minutes of that kind of basketball where you're measuring yourself against the type of team you're talking about. Then you can know we did it 2 times in a row and we're not happy with the result, but there's more muscle memory in there to know what that feels like. You grow off of those experiences. You know, if you only do it one game and then you don't do it the next game, like I just told him, I said that's not experience anymore. Those are just that's one individual experience, then another individual experience. We got to learn how to put them together game after game, have that be the way we compete and play. Then that's how you start to learn how to really gauge yourself to say, okay, that's the best team in this league. That's one of the best. We know what that is. We got to get to work on saying we got to become a team like that. That's really what it is. We got to become a team like that. That's a process. In a normal year, I think we would be playing. This would have been game 13 and 14. You know what I mean? Instead of game 7 and 8. Would that have helped in our learning? Yes, but that's the way this is this year. We got to embrace that, and we do have to really learn from the 2 games that we just played. And boy, we got to learn fast, because they're coming right back at it on Wednesday and Friday. And you know what? It's probably the best thing for us. You know, just to get right back in it and say, okay, roll up our sleeves, and we got to go play and compete the way we did today. And if we do, then we'll improve. We will get better.
Yeah. What happened to Abe Kinraid, and do you have any sense of how serious it is?
I mean, it's his knee. I don't know all the details. I got to believe, you know, from what I can see, that I don't see him being available unless we get some real luck for Boise State. But if it's not serious, then we do have a long break before Wyoming, so maybe we can get lucky and he's back for that. But I'll have to hear from the doctors, you know, in terms of what they see, but it's definitely his knee.
Okay. And with Glenn McClintock, how much is he giving you right now, and how much of it is an investment in the future with him, and letting him just be on the floor and learn on the job, basically?
Yeah, I think that's part of this process for us, you know what I mean? He does obviously bring things defensively. He's very active with his hands, you know. I mean, again, first experience of saying, okay, you want to compete with top-of-the-league teams, well, this is what the games are going to be like. And that's an experience for Glenn, and he's got to learn from that. And whether that's the physicality of over and over every possession, you know, that's the main thing our guys got to learn from this weekend, is the physicality of how these teams are going to defend, and they're going to bump and okay, that's what they're going to do. We got to learn from that. I know that's something new for Glenn. You know, I got a lot of confidence in him. Like I told Keaton, I know he's going to play better. We got to get him to play better, but I believe in that, and I'm hopeful that these 2 games can show a lot of that, to sort of have there be a jump in those 2 guys in particular. You know, that's because we really need it, and we've already talked about Nick Jackson in that regard. You know, we need to see these like incremental upticks, you know, game to game. And hopefully we're going to see that, and, you know, we'll find out on Wednesday a little bit. But it's definitely what you said, you know, and somewhere in there I got to keep doing the same thing with, you know, some of these other younger guys too, you know, because that is part of this process, is sort of the program, developing guys, getting them in there and getting them that kind of experience. So I've been able to do it a little bit with Mason. We're going to keep doing it. I got to keep making sure as we go through this that we do that.